So the budget for fiscal year 25 has some initiatives to help in this area. It provides funding for a resiliency coordinator through our friends at the Greater Portland Council of Governments to work with our resilience committee that we have here in town. So those efforts currently that they're focusing on are to help with stormwater management and phosphorus in some of our water bodies here in the community. So those efforts will help to make us more sustainable for the future. We also are starting an initiative to have some electric vehicles for town staff who currently either use other town vehicles or use their personal vehicles to conduct inspections or site visits. The electric vehicles can take advantage of the grant-funded car chargers that we have here at Town Hall and be able to use those to support the community in an energy efficient way. And then lastly, we do have an effort to explore composting at either the transfer station or here at Town Hall, compost drop-off site part with a company called Garbage to Garden. We've budgeted some funds for that, and we'll see about testing that out to see if that's possible to help get some of the food waste out of our waste stream. Well, the finances here in Gray have been a little bit challenging, and audit reports of the past have reflected that, and I'll be working hard to try to establish appropriate financial controls and accountability, mainly surrounding support in our finance department. Currently, the town has one finance staff to oversee our entire budget and over $20 million of property tax collections, and that really isn't an adequate amount of staffing to ensure appropriate checks and balances are in place. So we'll be instituting an accountant to help support our accountant position, to help support our finance director, and we'll also be instituting a payroll and accounts payable position within our finance department that will help us to conduct all those basic tasks within our finance department and allow the other staff to be able to focus on bigger picture as well as check and balance. Also, we have funds within the budget to help do a more thorough and detailed audit outside of a normal regular audit. Given that myself and the finance director are both recently new, we want to ensure that we have a baseline of the financial condition of the town prior to our arrival so we can begin to show efforts to make improvements and have those reflected in future audits. Yes, the budget does have a budget contingency associated with it of approximately $40,000. And typically that's enough for things that would be needed during the fiscal year. Should there be any larger capital emergencies or things of that nature, we would either work to provide a supplemental budget in future months or work to include them in a future budget if those are absolutely necessary. We also can work to manage funds within our current budget or within the budget that's established, and if we have to put freezes on accounts or cut spending during the fiscal year to deal with emerging situations or emergency situations, that's an exercise that we can do as well. If the budget does not pass on election day, per the town's charter, we would then have to have an in-person town meeting. And based on maybe feedback we would receive from the community, the town council would work on making adjustments to the budget and then bringing that adjusted budget to town meeting. Otherwise, if we don't hear a lot of specific feedback, then I think we would work to bring the budget as presented to the town meeting and work with the council and the public to ensure that we are able to answer as many questions as possible. So currently the fiscal year 25 budget supports Economic Development Department through TIF funding, which is used from various TIFs in the community that have economic development activities as eligible expenses. And with that, we would be funding a economic development director to help with growth and development throughout the entire community. And we would be also having a town engineer / project manager to help with economic development projects that are happening in the community. Specifically to Yarmouth Road, the Village Transformation Project has been something that's been established for a little while, and I'm coming in with that project underway. And so our town engineer would be able to focus specifically on that project. And Yarmouth Road as well, we do have some upcoming paving that will be taking place there in the current budget in anticipation for more detailed reconstruction efforts as part of the Village Transformation Project if we're awarded grant funding in partnership with the Maine Department of Transportation. Yes, the village crosswalks are handled by ultimately our Public Works Department, and lines throughout the entire community are difficult to maintain with winters and things of that nature. So the staff looks to get those lines done at least once a year through various time, but we can work on trying to tend to those crosswalks to ensure that they're appropriate for crossing. We are working with Maine Department of Transportation, as I said, for the Village Transformation Project to make improvements to these pedestrian crossings, so that will also help long term. So this year, the capital improvement projects for this budget is a lot smaller than some of our previous year budgets, and we're working to try to come up with a better plan long term. So we do have a number of projects that are included this year. Specifically for Lewiston Road, there's drainage improvements in partnership with the Maine DOT project that will be taking place there just outside of the village. And so those drainage improvements are budgeted for, but that work probably won't get started for another year or two. One of the things that we've heard from a lot of citizens is speed and pedestrian assistance throughout the community. So we have some traffic safety improvements budgeted that will work to try to install throughout the community, whether they be movable or permanent items that can report the speed that vehicles are traveling to help slow cars down, and also maybe make pedestrian areas more visible to people, such as crosswalks and things of that nature. We also are including some funding for equipment at the fire department to help with their breathing apparatus, as well as some basketball hoops here at the New Begin Gymnasium just outside of Town Hall here. Those are a majority of the capital improvements. It's just under $200,000, but in the future we'll be needing to plan for some bigger capital improvements such as road reconstruction and things of that nature. The budget does include paving, which we've moved from the capital improvement budget to our ongoing budget. Because it's an ongoing expense that we do every single year, it makes sense to include that in the operating budget on an annual basis, so those funds can be allocated in order to do the paving necessary throughout the community.